Public libraries exist to serve diverse communities of all ages and backgrounds. But one group that has been notoriously underserved is teenagers, especially those in the LGBTQ community. Adolescence is often a stressful period of life. Teens spend much of their time figuring out who they are and how to fit into society at large. They feel a need to fit in with their peers and fear being ostracized. That fear increases when a teen identifies as lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, questioning, or queer. This LGBTQ community has been marginalized because its members do not conform to societal expectations of heterosexuality and traditional gender identity. Because of this, many queer teens keep their non-conforming sexual and gender identities secret to avoid bullying and prejudice. This can make it easy to forget about them as a significant part of the library community. But just because teens aren't explicitly asking for LGBTQ materials does not mean that there is no demand for them. Acceptance of LGBTQ issues and marriage equality is rising in America, but suicide rates of queer youth remain alarmingly high. The Trevor Project reports that lesbian, gay, and bisexual youth are 4 times more likely to attempt suicide than their straight peers, and nearly half of young transgender people have considered taking their own lives. This primarily boils down to normativity in society. We currently live in a culture that promotes heterosexuality and cisgender identity as the norm, and any deviation from this is largely considered to be abnormal. LGBTQ youth may not know where to go to find unbiased information on what they are experiencing. That's where the public library comes in. Inclusion is at the core of the American Library Association's Library Bill of Rights, which states that books and other library resources should be provided for the interest, information, and enlightenment of all people of the community the library serves. In order to properly serve the often invisible queer teenage members of the community, public libraries must include a variety of LGBTQ materials in their collections. If queer teens see examples of themselves in the fictional stories they read, they can realize that they are not abnormal and that their voices are just as relevant as anyone else's. They should be able to find characters they identify with and know that they are not alone in their personal struggles. Nonfiction is also essential for helping teens learn about what it means to be queer. They need reliable sources that give accurate and unprejudiced information on queer issues like coming out of the closet, sexual health, and legal rights. First-person accounts from the queer community, such as memoirs and autobiographies, can provide teens with examples of what it's like to live out of the closet. Libraries should also be sure to include informational material for parents and friends of queer teens. This can boost community-wide acceptance and give teens something to show their parents to ease the coming out process. In addition to physical materials in the library, teens also need access to online resources. According to the most recent polls conducted in 2012 by the Pew Research Center, 95% of teens aged 12 to 17 are active online. The internet is often the first stop teens make in their search for information, and it can add an extra level of privacy for queer teens who are investigating potentially sensitive topics. The public library can steer teens toward reputable websites like gsanetwork.org, youthresource.org, and itgetsbetter.org directly from its main website. Exploring sites like these will allow teens to become safely acquainted with the LGBTQ community and provide them with positive accounts of life as a queer individual. But what good are services like these if teens don't know about them? Public libraries must be proactive about advertising what they have to offer. It is not uncommon for teens to skip over the library as a valid resource for anything other than school-related research. Librarians must make sure that queer teens know that the library is relevant to their everyday needs. This is where social media can be a huge library asset.
Created using PowToon.